What if I told you that the key to being charismatic with a man is something completely different than what you've been told? It's based on something you've probably never heard of. I am Bob Grant, best-selling author and relationship expert, and what I have found is that the real key of being charismatic in a way that just draws men in isn't what they've been told to do, to be more confident or to be more assertive or to be more feminine, as much as that's real popular right now. It's not about finding out whose attachment style is the best fit for you. I'm saying it's not important. It's not the most critical thing. No, you're creating a real sense of charisma, a real emotional attraction starts with something inside of you. Most of the time when women think about this, it's I need to be calmer. I need to be more self-confident. I need to not worry as much. A lot of women, when they'll write emails to me and I'll ask them what's going on, they'll talk about, I just feel so anxious all the time, or I get nervous, or I'm worried that I said the wrong thing. The truth is we all say the wrong thing at times. In fact, the women that are really good with men, they don't always say the right thing. They don't always say it perfect. They don't have perfect scripts to be able to respond. Because what they know is that perfect scripts don't work as well on men as women think. Perfect scripts are really written more for women so that women feel good about what they say. Perfect scripts don't really have that impression. I've got clients that want perfect scripts. I'll give them scripts of what to say and they feel good. It doesn't have the impact on men they think it does, but it makes them feel good. So I'm happy to do that for them. No, real charisma has to do with what's going on inside of you and how you manage that. So what do I mean by that? So there's no way with someone you're interested in for you not to feel nervous or excited. The idea of being confident with someone you're interested, what that means is that you're confident in a situation that you're actually in control of. Confidence and control go hand in hand. I'm very confident of my ability to walk. I don't think about it. I can do it with my eyes closed, literally. And so I have the confidence of that. I have the confidence to record a video. I've done enough of these. Okay, I have no doubt I can record one. I don't get real nervous about that. Nervous and excited is when you're in a situation where you get your hopes up. Maybe it goes bad. Maybe you say the wrong thing. It's a man you're interested in. You're hoping to make a good impression. You don't want to say the wrong thing. And so you're measuring your words. You know, you're anxious. You're nervous. And what do we tend to do with this? We try to suppress that. The problem when you try to suppress that and keep a hold on it so you don't say the wrong thing is you end up coming across as guarded. You end up coming across as detached. You don't mean to. I get it. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I don't want to come across as detached either. It's a two-edged sword. The real part of charisma that's interesting is that it's what you do with those feelings. Charisma starts from the inside. So it's not what you're feeling as much as can you do what's called containing it. So containing takes a little practice. It's where you think of like a fire. And fire is great as long as it's in a container. It's in a fire pit. It's in a fireplace. Fire's no good if it just goes wild into the forest. So containing it is simply reminding yourself that I can feel nervous, like right now, if I can be nervous and make this video at the same time. Because how you feel is not who you are. I know you don't want to feel nervous, but if you're going to go out with men that you're really interested in, you're going to get nervous. There's no way around it. This is about learning to be what's called comfortable being uncomfortable. And it takes practice. It doesn't happen overnight. But the goal is not to get where you're never anxious or never nervous. Because what happens, and this is sort of the magical part, is when you're feeling this inside, whether it's nervous, whatever you're feeling, that actually makes you look more alive. It's hard to describe, but you know when you're with your friends and they're telling a story and maybe they look kind of silly the way they're telling it, but they don't care. They're your friends. But that makes them more alive, vivacious. That makes them more interesting and more appealing. We want a man to see you for who you are. Now, I don't mean to be transparent and just share every thought you have, but this charisma part is where you are aware of what's going on inside of you and you still go through with it anyway. It's not pretending. So if I'm nervous, I would do this years ago when I would work with teenagers. Every now and then I'd have one come in and they just didn't want to be there. And they were just itching for a fight, not physically, but they would want to challenge me. And I would tell myself ahead of time, especially if I'd had a bad day, I would say, Bob, you didn't get much sleep or something else is going on. Be careful. John, Tim, Susie is coming in today at 2. And I would remind myself that I was kind of on edge a little bit. And it would be easy for me to say something smart back or prove I'm the boss or whatever. I didn't try to tell myself not to be upset or to be perfectly calm as much as I was just doing what's called self-regulating. And I was reminding myself of where I was at temperature-wise and just taking that in with me. So that, and again, they didn't want to be there. They would say stuff. I could feel it inside, but I could still do a good job. I could still listen. I could still care. And that let me know if they went too far, if they were rude or ugly, I could set a limit and say, that's not appropriate, or, what's going on. But it starts with being an honest awareness of where we're at. Because when you do this, you will become more focused on the other person. That's part two. When you're aware of what's going on inside of you, you're responsible for it. If I'm feeling anxious or nervous, that's not their job to calm me down. That's my job. Because real charisma is how much I focus on the other person while being aware of what's going on inside of me. I tried to think of a modern day example. This guy's probably going to be too old for most of you watching. But Bill Clinton, former president, he was, whatever you think of his presidency, but everyone agrees he was incredibly charismatic. President Barack Obama had the same quality, but Bill Clinton was in a different league. When he walked into the room, people would talk about, you could feel it. And one of the things was, whenever he talked to someone one-on-one, you got his complete, undivided attention. You felt important to him. It may have been only for a minute or two. He had a lot of people to meet. His focus was on you. His focus was on being interested in you for a minute or two. Now, that's hard to do for a minute or two, but we can do that for much longer. So when you're on a date or with a man you're interested in, your focus is on him. I don't mean that you have to agree with everything he says, but we want to take the focus out of ourselves. Because a lot of times looking inside, we're trying to not feel anxious, not do this. No, we're just going to give ourselves permission. I'm feeling what I'm feeling. I'm in control. I'm an adult. I can feel anxious and still do what I need to do. I can feel nervous. I can feel scared. I can feel happy and still go about my business. What I feel is not who I am. I can also focus on the other person. Now, the third part of this that makes this all easier is, instead of trying to cut this on and off with certain men, I want to suggest you treat every man the same. See, if you're nice to every man, this won't be something you have to cut on when there's a man you're interested in. This is just who you are. That's why I mentioned President Clinton, because he did this with everyone. Every guest that came to the White House, some were more important than others. They all got treated the same. Real charisma, the real ability to glow, isn't something you cut it on. Isn't something you cut on or off. It's something you just do because that's who you are. And it doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert. You can be quiet. You can be outgoing with this. But you can develop this quality because it's not something you're born with. It's just like a muscle you learn, a muscle you stretch, a muscle you strengthen. And men will notice the difference. They won't use the word charisma necessarily. They will say things like there's something about her. And I can take any woman, regardless of what she looks like, height, shape, whatever, I can make her more charismatic if she'll just follow these three rules. So have some fun with this. You can begin experimenting with this at work. If you're married with your husband, anyone will notice it, maybe not immediately, but they will feel the different shift in energy as you do this. Be sure to stay tuned for the next video. Look forward to seeing you next time.